What's up, y'all? Welcome to The Sully Show. I'm Sully, and this is my show. Hence the name Sully Show. So, one of my favorite things to do is just try like different alcoholic beverages, alcoholic drinks, whatever you want to call them. Mainly, I'm not a big cocktail guy. I like a cocktail sometimes, not a big cocktail guy though. My main thing is whiskey and beer. If I try like vodka, I like trying the plain like alcohol by itself, the plain liquor by itself. So like who knows what Tito's tastes like when you dump in with a bunch of Coke or ginger ale or Sprite, you know? Ain't nobody knows what Tito's tastes like. But like, what does Tito's taste like by itself? So today we're gonna be doing, this is one thing I've been kind of interested in, and you know, growing up, you know, as a kid and everything, you always see in the movies, you see some really, you know, fancy guy, they pour themselves a, you know, glass of neat whiskey or something like that. But then, you know, you never really see anybody drink neat whiskey in real life that often. You only see people drinking it with ice because it's normal. But so, you know, growing up, you're always like, hey, what's going on with that? You know, I'm kind of confused. Whatever. Maybe you don't. I did, but who knows? So what we're doing today is basically, does whiskey taste different straight or neat? Does whiskey taste neat without ice? Does it taste different without ice or with ice? Basically, finally got that out of there. So what we're sampling it on today is Jameson IPA edition whiskey. So it's Irish. If you don't know what Jameson is, it's Irish whiskey. Extremely good. Very, very awesome stuff. It's like $30 for a bottle. It's like a $7.50. So pricier, but not too pricey. You know, it's kind of like middle of the line. Well worth the money. Okay, 100% worth the money. Amazing stuff. But this is the IPA edition. So it's aged, instead of being aged like a whiskey barrel, it's aged in a barrel from an IPA beer. I forget which beer, but they partner with an Irish IPA maker. It's like a brewer in Ireland that makes IPAs, and they partner together. And I believe Jameson actually sends them some like Jameson barrels, and they make a beer in that bottle. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure whenever I looked up like what exactly the IPA edition was and everything, I'm pretty sure I saw something about that. But they definitely use bottles from an Irish distillery. 99% sure on that one, or Irish brewery. So Jameson IPA, 40% alcohol, so not too strong. And you know, your normal whiskeys, you know, 35 to 40. So, well, you know, right there with everything else, kind of basic stuff. I had this sitting on ice, getting cold real quick. Normally, I have these really cool, like, spherical ice cubes that just sit in there, and they take up the whole glass, and they look really cool, and they melt slower. Because that's one thing with, like, you know, putting ice in your whiskey is obviously it waters down your whiskey. And that's not always great. Sometimes you just want it to be cold, because really the difference in the taste is the cold versus not cold. It's not really watered down versus not. So that's kind of like I like the fears is they water it down a lot slower, but I'm out of them right now. So I had to use just some basic ice cubes that I kind of watering it down a little, but we'll drink it fast enough that won't be a huge deal. So let's go ahead, dive right into the first sampler. We'll go with the neat first and see, you know, we'll taste it, see what we think, taste the ice, see what we think. Is there a difference? Is there not a difference? What I recommend, what I not recommend. What do you guys think? Leave me a note down in the comments and subscribe. Let's get at the first one. So it's see, it tastes, you can't really, it tastes good again. It's definitely, you know, you get that strong burn. I learned this. The burn from whiskey is because whiskey, or alcohol, like it's burn from alcohol, I should say. Alcohol, you have like heat sensors in your tongue and like back of the throat area kind of deal. Like right in here, I think it is, on your tongue. You have like heat sensors basically to let you know like, oh man, that food's really hot, and you like ha 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 stuff like, on your soup or whatever. So what I learned is whiskey or alcohol tricks those sensors into thinking that like what you're drinking is like super hot, but then it tricks the rest of your mouth to thinking that it's cold. And so it feels like you're like burning your throat, basically. That's why it feels like that. It's something, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a scientist, but it was something along those lines of like the alcohol tricks your mouth into thinking that you're drinking something really hot, and then the rest of your mouth thinks it's really cold, and it kind of does all that. That's one thing that ice does, is it keeps the whiskey's cold. So then your mouth is like, okay, this is cold. It's not hot. And so you don't really get that burn. So I think that's part of where the flavors come from, is because a lot of whiskeys, Jameson's fairly smooth and neat. But a lot of whiskeys like Jack Daniel's, Jameson, trying to think what, I don't know what else. Evan Williams, Buffalo Trace, a lot of other whiskeys. You drink them and you can't taste anything. I mean, maybe I'm a baby. I don't know. But to me, you can't taste anything. It just, you're like, oh man, that like kind of burned. There's no taste to it. But where that ice, it calms that burn down, so you can like your taste buds activate. You can kind of taste it. So Jameson neat. There wasn't a whole lot of flavor going on. It kind of just tasted like barrel aged whiskey. You can kind of get the note. I mean, like most whiskeys, that note of that like barrel, that smokiness, that wood, that nuttiness, I think they call it. So I mean, not bad. Obviously, it's still great. But let's try it with the ice and see if the flavor's any better. Yeah, flavors like so it doesn't. I mean, you could drink this like it's water. Like you don't really even feel it going down, except just like a tiny little bit. So it definitely calms that down. It brings out that like citrusy, not a lot. It's like a note in there. So you still get the like that main whiskey, barrel aged taste of wood, manliness, and smoke type deal. But it brings out just like little notes of like citrus and everything, like the hops that you would find in an IPA, that real citrusy flavor. Those are the hops. If you didn't know that, I didn't know that until the other day, but someone told me. So it really brings out those little hints of flavor. So I feel like that's kind of what the ice does. It's more like it doesn't change the flavor of the whiskey, but it lets you taste all the underlying notes. Because I'm sure, as y'all know, alcohol, wine, some beers, whiskeys, vodka, all kind of taste the same. So I guess mainly beer and wine. I don't really drink too much without talking about that. But, they're all about those, like, notes. Like, you read a bottle. Like, let's see if it says it on here. See, it says the result. Oh, it's with 8D Brewing. That's who they get their barrels from. They borrow our cask to age their finest Irish Pale Ale. And then we finish our signature whiskey in those bottles. Okay, yeah, see. The classic smoothness of Jameson with notes of hops and a light, crisp finish. So, whenever you see a bottle of whiskey and fine bottle of wine, it always says, oh, we have notes of nuttiness, or notes of flowers, or notes of smokiness, notes of peats. I had one beer that says notes of chocolate, notes of coffee on a stout. So it's all about the notes. Like you blindfold yourself, you take a sip of a bunch of whiskeys real quick, all neat. You're gonna be like, okay, yeah, like whiskey. Maybe you can tell you can tell a small difference in, Irish bourbon, Irish whiskey, bourbon whiskey, regular whiskey, rye whiskey, maybe, stuff like that. Like big changes, but you can't take a sip and be like, oh wow, that must be Jack Daniel's because I'm detecting a note of this. You can't do that unless you're a dagburn whiskey expert and this is what you do for a living. Hey, maybe I'll get there one day. Who knows? But for a basic guy like me, probably like you, you put the ice in there. It brings out those notes, those finer little Find little things that you couldn't taste before because of that like overpowering, wow, man, the alcohol burns so much kind of deal. So it really does just, it smooths it out. It brings out those little flavors you might not have noticed before. And it really does just, in my opinion, all around make it more enjoyable drink. Plus, it waters it down. So, you know, I'm not made of money. I don't know if y'all know how this works, but, you know, I'm broke. But, you know, so you drink, you know, you pour yourself a, you know, 2 fingers of this, or something's gonna stay 2 fingers of this. Pour yourself 2 fingers in here. It's gonna get watered down a little bit. It's gonna, you know, ice is gonna melt, all that, and, you know, it'll wind up, you're not getting 3 fingers out necessarily, but you'll wind up getting a little extra. You wind up being able to drink a little bit longer, so therefore each bottle will go a little bit longer, and then you can save yourself a little money. And at the end of the day, it's just plain and simply more enjoyable. But, yeah, I mean, I think that's about all I got. I hope this was informative for y'all. You know, I learned a lot, that's for sure. Well, you know what they say. You always learn more when you teach than when you go to class or something. I don't know, man. I don't know what they say. Who knows what they say? But I hope y'all enjoyed it. We'll be back with another video soon. And, again, I'm Sully. Thanks for watching the Sully Show, and y'all take care. Cheers.